Have you ever noticed how some people in their 70s, 80s, even 90s just seem lighter? Not physically, but emotionally. They laugh easier. They sleep better. Their shoulders aren't as heavy. They carry something, peace, maybe, that you can't quite explain. And then, there are others, just as loving, just as full of life stories, who seem tense. Restless. Anxious, sometimes even depressed. It's like their body's holding onto something, or missing something. Now, I want to ask you something that might make you pause for a second, but stick with me, alright? Could it be that something as simple, yet deeply misunderstood, as masturbation plays a role in that difference? I know. It's a word most people don't expect to hear in a conversation about healthy aging. Especially not from a channel that cares so deeply about dignity, wisdom, and family. But here's the thing. Just because society stops talking about something after a certain age, doesn't mean it stops mattering. We talk a lot about blood pressure, about walking more, about memory games and multivitamins. But there's another part of health, emotional, hormonal, even physical, that's quietly fading away in silence for many older adults. And sometimes, the silence is what causes the pain. See, in old age, touching your own body, feeling connected to yourself, that doesn't stop being important. In fact, it may become more important. Not just for comfort or pleasure, but for sleep, bladder health, emotional release, even confidence. But when that part of your life disappears, when it's ignored, or worse, shamed, it doesn't just vanish. It hides. It festers. And that's when the trouble begins. That's why in today's video, we're going to gently, yet honestly, explore a topic most people are too afraid to touch. What really happens when you stop masturbating in old age? What changes in your mind, your body, your heart, when you shut that door and throw away the key? And more importantly, what might you gain if you open that door again? By the end of this video, you'll understand the surprising ways self-pleasure impacts everything from prostate and vaginal health, to mood stability, sleep quality, and even how you see yourself in the mirror. We're not here to be crude. We're here to be real. Because aging with dignity doesn't mean avoiding the hard conversations, it means having them with love. So take a breath, and let's talk. If you're someone who believes that elderly well-being includes emotional and physical wholeness, then go ahead and comment down below, open mind, open heart. And if this is your first time here at Elders Wisdom Institute, welcome. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Because this channel is your safe space for truth, tenderness, and total health in your later years. Alright. Let's dive in. Picture this. A 72-year-old widower named James. He lost his wife 3 years ago. Since then, his days have fallen into a quiet rhythm, tea in the morning, a bit of TV, maybe a walk to the mailbox. But something's shifted. He feels tense all the time. Restless. Like there's this invisible weight sitting on his chest that never quite lifts. He's not talking to anyone about it. Not his son, not his doctor. Because deep down, James believes that what he's feeling isn't appropriate anymore. He thinks he's supposed to be past all that. Past the longing. Past the urges. Past the need to touch or feel connected to his own body. He believes that part of him died with his wife. But here's the truth, and it's one too many people are afraid to say out loud. Sexuality doesn't retire. It doesn't pack up and leave at a certain birthday. The body may change. Desires may evolve. But the need for closeness, for release, for emotional softness, doesn't vanish. What James is feeling? That restlessness? That anxiety that builds up for no reason at all? It's not just grief. It's emotional suppression. When you suppress basic, natural urges, especially in old age, it creates internal tension. The body stores it. Over time, that tension doesn't just stay in the background. It grows. And this isn't just theory, it's science. When someone engages in self-pleasure, the brain releases chemicals like endorphins and oxytocin. These are your body's natural feel-good messengers. They soothe the nervous system. They relax your muscles. They soften the mind. It's not just about feeling pleasure, it's about feeling peace. Now, when that outlet disappears, or worse, when it's silenced with guilt or shame, cortisol, the stress hormone, starts to dominate. It builds slowly. You might feel irritable, or have trouble sleeping, or notice a spike in blood pressure or heart rate, even when you're just sitting quietly. You may not link it back to anything physical, but the body remembers what it's not allowed to express. And here's where families often make a huge mistake. They assume that because their elderly parent or grandparent isn't talking about intimacy, that it no longer matters. They believe it's inappropriate to even bring it up. Some even get uncomfortable if an elder mentions touch or affection at all. So what happens? That elder stops talking, stops reaching, stops expressing that part of themselves altogether. And that silence turns into sadness. But here's something powerful: acknowledgement heals. When an elder is given the freedom to talk about their emotions, including their physical and intimate needs, without fear of judgment, a huge burden lifts. Journaling those thoughts, talking to a counselor, being honest with oneself, or simply allowing private, healthy self-touch without shame, can be emotionally liberating. It's not about being explicit. It's about being honest with the fullness of human experience, even in the later chapters of life. Because when emotional pressure isn't released, it finds other ways to show up. Anxiety, depression, mood swings, and sometimes even physical pain. And if you think emotional well-being is a sensitive subject, just wait until you hear what happens physically when this part of life is ignored. Especially for older men, whose bodies are quietly responding in ways they don't always understand. Let's talk about that next. Let me tell you about John. John is 68. A retired teacher, sharp as ever, loves crossword puzzles, and still makes a mean cup of coffee. But over the past year, something started bothering him. It wasn't obvious at first, just a bit of discomfort when sitting for too long. Then came the frequent bathroom trips, the pressure, the dull ache in his lower abdomen that wouldn't quite go away. He didn't say anything for months. He chalked it up to aging. Comes with the territory, he told himself. But when the pain became too much to ignore, he finally went to his doctor. The diagnosis? Chronic prostatitis, a persistent inflammation of the prostate gland. Now here's the thing, John hadn't had any sexual release of any kind in over a year. And that mattered more than he realized. See, when it comes to prostate health, regular ejaculation, whether through intimacy or masturbation, actually plays a protective role. It's like giving the plumbing a good flush. It clears out the buildup of fluids, reduces the chances of blockages, and helps prevent the stagnation that can lead to inflammation or even infection. This isn't just an old wives' tale, it's supported by science. Several medical studies suggest that men who ejaculate regularly, within healthy limits, have lower risks of developing prostate complications later in life. That includes everything from swelling, to chronic discomfort, to in some cases, more serious conditions. But unfortunately, there's a deeply rooted belief that avoiding sexual activity somehow keeps the body clean or pure. The truth? It's exactly the opposite. When that area of the body is ignored for too long, the lack of activity can actually lead to poor circulation, fluid retention, and pelvic floor tension. All of which can trigger discomfort, pressure, and long-term health issues. Now imagine the emotional toll that comes with that. You're in pain. You're embarrassed. And worst of all, you think it's just part of getting older. So you stay silent. You endure it. But it doesn't have to be that way. Here's what you need to know: your body still wants maintenance, not neglect. Masturbation, in moderation, and without shame, can be a natural, doctor-supported way to keep the pelvic region functioning properly. It promotes healthy blood flow. It relaxes tight muscles. It supports regular gland activity. And above all, it keeps that system from going stagnant. The best part? You don't have to go through this quietly. You can, and should, have honest conversations with your doctor about your prostate health. There's nothing inappropriate about asking questions. In fact, it's one of the most responsible things you can do for your future self. Because at the end of the day, staying healthy means being brave enough to care for every part of your body, not just the ones society says are acceptable. And this isn't just about men. Women, too, face real and often overlooked consequences when they avoid intimacy with themselves, especially in the years after menopause. What happens when the body is left untouched, unacknowledged, and disconnected from its own sense of pleasure? That's what we're going to talk about next. Now let's talk about Eleanor. She's 74. A proud grandmother of 5. Spends her mornings tending to her plants and evenings knitting little gifts for everyone she loves. But lately, Eleanor's been uncomfortable, really uncomfortable. She's been feeling dryness. A sharp, stinging sensation during urination. And an aching that sometimes makes it hard to sit for long. Her first thought? This must just be what getting older feels like. She didn't tell anyone. Not her daughters. Not her doctor. Because deep down, she felt embarrassed. She thought, I'm not sexually active. Why would this even matter anymore? But here's the truth, it matters a lot. What Eleanor didn't know, and what most women aren't told, is that the absence of regular stimulation to the vaginal area, especially after menopause, can lead to a condition called vaginal atrophy. It's more common than most people think. Here's how it works. When estrogen levels drop in the body, which they naturally do with age, vaginal tissues become thinner, less elastic, and more fragile. Blood flow decreases. Moisture levels drop. The muscles in that area can start to shrink or tighten. And without any stimulation, any gentle stretching or movement, these tissues slowly begin to atrophy. That means dryness, burning, pain, discomfort during urination, even a higher risk of urinary tract infections. And yet, so many women suffer in silence. Why? Because they've been led to believe that if they're not sexually active with a partner, then their body's intimate needs are no longer relevant. That without a partner, there's nothing to maintain. But that couldn't be further from the truth. You see, the female body doesn't just need intimacy from someone else, it also needs attention from within. Just like joints need stretching and muscles need movement, the vaginal tissues thrive on blood flow, gentle touch, and regular care. Even light, private self-stimulation, done with intention and gentleness, can encourage circulation, reduce dryness, and keep tissues pliable and healthy. It's not about pleasure for pleasure's sake, though that's perfectly valid too. It's about honoring your body and keeping every part of it well. And if physical stimulation feels uncomfortable or unfamiliar, there are still other options. Pelvic floor therapy, often recommended by geriatric gynecologists, can help strengthen those internal muscles and relieve tension. Water-based lubricants and moisturizing gels can ease dryness. Even simply applying touch externally, or doing guided breathing exercises that engage the pelvic area, can begin the process of reconnection. And here's the most important part: you're not alone. Thousands of older women are going through this exact same experience right now. Many of them are scared to ask questions. Many are quietly trying to live with pain that could be eased if only someone had told them sooner. So talk to your doctor. Ask for a referral to a specialist who understands aging bodies. Bring it up, even if your voice shakes. Because discomfort in this area is not something you have to live with. Your body still belongs to you. Every part of it. Every stage of life. And caring for it, even in the quietest, most private ways, is an act of self-respect. Now, let's take this one step further. Because beyond physical relief and emotional release, there's something else that's deeply affected when we ignore or suppress this natural part of ourselves. Something we all cherish. Something we all struggle with at times, especially in our later years. Let's talk about how all of this ties directly into the quality of your sleep and the deep emotional peace your body and mind crave each night. Now let me introduce you to Margaret. She's 80. Lively, spirited, still enjoys baking apple pie on Sunday afternoons. But lately, something's been troubling her. She's exhausted, even though she's spending more time in bed. She wakes up 3-4 times a night, tossing, turning, her mind racing. No nightmares, no pain. Just this quiet, nagging restlessness that won't let her be. Her doctor checked everything: blood pressure, sugar levels, heart rhythm. All normal. But one thing never came up in conversation: the emotional tension she'd been holding in for years. See, Margaret lost her husband almost a decade ago. Since then, she's avoided anything remotely intimate. She never talked about it. Not to her kids. Not to her friends. She buried those feelings and told herself, that part of my life is over. But what her body needed didn't agree. You see, repressed tension, especially the kind connected to physical intimacy, doesn't just disappear. It builds up. And one of the first places it shows up: your sleep. Let's break this down. When a person experiences sexual release, even just through gentle self-touch or orgasm, the body releases a chemical cocktail of calming hormones: dopamine, oxytocin, and most importantly, melatonin. That's the hormone responsible for helping your brain wind down and drift into deep, restorative sleep. Without this natural release valve, especially in older adults who are already navigating hormone shifts and emotional changes, the body can get stuck in a state of low-level agitation. That quiet buzz in the background of your mind. The racing thoughts. The feeling that you're tired, but never truly relaxed. And the worst part? Many seniors are told that poor sleep is just part of aging. So what do? They turn to pills, sleeping tablets, sedatives. But while those may help short-term, they don't solve the root problem. They often dull the senses, create dependence, and never really address what the body is crying out for: natural, internal calm. Here's the truth: your body was designed with its own built-in sleep aid. And part of that includes allowing yourself emotional and physical release in a healthy, respectful way. This doesn't mean anything inappropriate. It doesn't require a partner. And it doesn't need to clash with your values or upbringing. What it does require is an open mind and a willingness to care for yourself at every level: emotional, physical, hormonal, and spiritual. So what can you do? Start small. If you or someone you love is dealing with restlessness, talk about it. Create space for conversations around gentle self-care. You'd be amazed at how many people are silently struggling with the same thing. Add a light stretching or breathing routine before bed. Practice mindful relaxation techniques. And yes, Give yourself permission to explore natural ways to calm your body, including self-touch, without shame or secrecy. Because restful sleep isn't just about turning off the lights. It's about letting go of the weight you carry all day, physically and emotionally, and giving your body the care it quietly longs for. And finally, let's talk about something that's deeply personal. Something many people don't expect to be connected to all of this. It's not physical pain. It's not hormones. It's how you see yourself when you look in the mirror. Let's explore what happens to self-image and personal confidence when this part of our identity is forgotten or suppressed. Let's talk about James. He's 76 now. But back in his younger years, James was the life of every gathering. Charismatic. Confident. The kind of man who walked into a room and made people smile without saying a word. He carried himself with pride, stood tall, shoulders back, eyes full of spark. But something changed. Over the years, people stopped noticing him. Strangers looked past him. Conversations became more about ailments than passions. He started believing what the world around him seemed to whisper, "You're old now. Your time has passed." And with that belief, his posture changed. His voice softened. His mirror, once a place of pride, became something to avoid. Here's the hard truth: when society stops seeing older adults as vibrant, sexual, or expressive beings, many elders begin to stop seeing themselves that way too. But this isn't just about vanity. This is about mental health, identity, and self-worth. You see, sexual expression, whether shared with someone else or practiced in private, is deeply tied to how we perceive ourselves. Not just physically, but emotionally. It reinforces the belief that you are still alive, still whole, still deserving of pleasure and care. When you strip that away, when someone begins to feel like touch, closeness, or even acknowledging their body is no longer appropriate, you don't just lose a habit. You lose a sense of connection to yourself. And when that connection fades, confidence follows. It's not uncommon for older adults to report feeling invisible. Not because their loved ones don't care, but because they've stopped feeling like they matter in the same way they once did. That they're just existing instead of thriving. But let me tell you something, aging does not mean you stop being a whole person. It does not mean you stop needing affection, or pride, or a moment of feeling attractive, desired, even by yourself. There's a quiet dignity in self-care. In taking a moment to moisturize your skin. In running your hands through your hair. In appreciating the way your body has carried you through every single chapter of life, even the hard ones. And yes, that includes honoring your sexuality, your curiosity, and your right to pleasure and touch. So what can you do? You can start by challenging the idea that older adults are past their prime. Because truthfully, prime is not a number. Prime is a mindset. Use affirmations. Stand in front of your mirror and remind yourself, I am still here. I am still whole. I still matter. Develop body care rituals that make you feel good in your skin. And most importantly, don't be afraid to reconnect with your body. Private intimacy, whether physical or emotional, can be a profound form of self-respect. Because confidence isn't about looking a certain way, it's about feeling worthy, inside and out. So now that we've explored these 5 unexpected but deeply real outcomes of neglecting physical intimacy in older age, let's pause. Let's breathe. And let's reflect on what this all means, not just for our health, but for our hearts. It's tough, isn't it? Watching your body change, bit by bit. The energy isn't what it used to be. The mirror reflects someone older, someone wiser, but also someone the world often overlooks. And worse, someone who may have started overlooking themselves. What's even tougher is how society handles it. As if your needs fade with the color in your hair. As if desiring closeness, touch, or simple self-connection is no longer dignified at a certain age. But let me tell you something clearly, your needs are valid. They always have been. And they always will be. Just because your joints are stiffer or your days are quieter, doesn't mean your heart doesn't still yearn. Doesn't mean your body has stopped being yours. You are not a shell of your former self, you are a deeper version of you. A richer, more complex, more emotionally intelligent version of who you've always been. So let's reframe this. Instead of fearing aging, what if we embraced it? What if we started talking about things that have been hushed for far too long? What if elder care included more than just medications and mobility aids, but also mental clarity, emotional freedom, and physical joy? You see, wellness in old age isn't just about preventing illness, it's about nurturing vitality. It's about giving yourself permission to feel good in every way that matters. And maybe that starts with a quiet conversation. A conversation with your partner. Or your doctor. Or maybe, just with yourself. Ask yourself honestly, have I been ignoring parts of me that still need care? Maybe it's time to explore gentle touch again. To reconnect with your body, not as it used to be, but as it is now, with grace, wisdom, and strength. There's no expiration date on wholeness. So if you've ever felt shame about self-pleasure, or emotional needs, or the desire to feel confident in your skin again, let that go. You're not being selfish. You're being human. And the more we talk about these things, the more we open up about what aging really feels like, the more empowered we become. Not just as individuals, but as a community. Because you're not alone. That's the part one want you to carry with you. You're not broken. You're not past it. And you're certainly not done. Aging isn't the end of intimacy, it's an invitation to rediscover it. To slow down, yes. To move gently, absolutely. But also, to feel more deeply. To appreciate more fully. To honor your needs without shame. And that includes your body. So as we begin to close this conversation, let me leave you with this: your story is still being written. And the next chapter, it doesn't have to be silent, or dry, or disconnected. It can be honest, whole, and even healing. You deserve every bit of peace, love, and joy that this stage of life can offer. Because growing older? It's not about disappearing. It's about becoming more fully, more unapologetically, you. So, let's take a moment to breathe. To sit with everything we've explored together. Because this hasn't just been a conversation about self-pleasure. It's been a conversation about you. Your health. Your dignity. Your right to feel whole at any age. Let's recap. We began by lifting the veil on a topic that's long been hidden in the shadows of masturbation and self-intimacy in later life. We looked at the silent cost of ignoring this part of yourself. How emotional suppression can creep in when your body's natural urges are denied. How anxiety, isolation, and even depression quietly take root when there's no safe outlet for physical release. Then we stepped into the physical health risks, especially for men. How the prostate benefits from regular, healthy stimulation. How withholding can sometimes lead to chronic inflammation or infection. Something as private as this, it could be affecting your entire system. We talked about women, too. About vaginal atrophy, urinary tract issues, and how important it is for blood to flow, not just through the heart, but through all parts of the body. How stimulation, even without a partner, helps maintain comfort, confidence, and control. And who could forget sleep? How something as gentle as orgasm can help restore the body's rhythm, releasing dopamine, increasing melatonin, calming the nervous system. We spend so much time searching for peace in pills, when sometimes, our body holds the answer. Then we touched something even deeper, self-worth. We saw how easy it is to start believing that you're no longer attractive, or wanted, or vibrant. But none of that is true. Because your sense of value isn't about others, it's about how you see yourself. All of these points, taken together, paint a fuller picture of wellness. This is not about sex. It's about connection, self-respect, dignity, and care. So here's what I'd love from you next. In the comments below, let's start a conversation. You don't need to share everything, but maybe just one thing that stood out. Which of these 5 points surprised you the most? Was it the impact on sleep? Or maybe the connection to self-image? Or perhaps you've seen this in a loved one, someone quietly struggling with something they were too ashamed to talk about. Your voice matters. You never know who might read your story and realize they're not alone. And if today's message opened your heart, if it helped you feel seen, heard, or understood, hit that subscribe button. Here at Elders Wisdom Institute, we don't shy away from the real stuff. We speak truth, gently, and always with compassion. Give this video a like if you believe aging should never mean hiding your needs. And if you're still listening, still reflecting, I want to thank you. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being open. And thank you for believing that your later years deserve the same care, attention, and tenderness as any other season of life. Until next time, stay compassionate, stay curious, and never stop exploring what makes you feel alive. Wisdom grows with openness. And you, my friend, are just getting started.